Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Last session, last class. Regional inequality. Then land reforms. Then political currents. And then last wars. Very small topics. This is mostly the bonus round in that regard because here we have not seen any questions for a very long time now. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, good evening. None of Shushmita, no questions. Wars means not Cold War. It means our wars. 47, 61, 65, 71, 99. Out of this module, nothing really has come for a very long time. Yes, Gaurav, the more you practice CSAT, the better it is for you. For any year, you need to do it. Why UPSC has ignored this area for so long? चलो UPSC से पूछते हैं. Let's ask UPSC. There's no answer to that question. UPSC can give a question next week itself. So the concept is that land reform, we've seen a very old question. 2012, 13, 14 used to come quite a lot. Since the new pattern, there are much more questions to ask than this. So why would you waste a question on this area? We wait 1 more minute and then we start. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, Priya, your journey with me ends here with this session. At 8 o'clock, Our modern India and post-independence journey ends. Gaurav, again, 250 words is not enough to answer that, but sure, why not? They can, but again, 250 words is not a lot to write like that. On 24th, polity and history, yes. Only polity, history, current affairs. 24th December, polity plus history plus current affairs. PTS. 19th, I'll be seeing you. 19th December, there's a webinar on art and culture, current affairs. So I hope you will join me there. Shilpa, I'm not sure about that, but I think yes. You have to check the dashboard. Devsmita, because in the school level, they can't talk about Abahata. Abahata is the early Bengali, so they are presuming that that is Bengali. Combination of 1, 2, 3, 4 can come, yes. Combination of 1, 2, 3, 4 can come. Surely can come. We have evening batch ancient medieval art and culture is happening. Okay, enough of waiting for everybody. We can start our discussion. So we now start with the concept of regional imbalance. The two topics, very simple, out of, in a way, economics. Economics, how many sessions? 3 sessions have happened. You would have watched the video again. You can watch the video again. Now, economics, when we study economics and regional imbalance, the fact of the matter is that one more challenge which India sees today, India sees today is a major issue with regional imbalance. In the sense, there are certain regions in India which are quite prosperous, and there are certain regions in India which are not. Now, if you try to understand India's regional imbalance today, you will give me very superficial answers or superficial reasons. But the reason for regional imbalance in India is actually colonial. If you look at colonialism and if you look at its impact, you tell me why is that Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, even certain parts of Orissa, what is common to these areas colonially? What is common to these areas colonially? Even West Bengal in certain cases. They all are permanent settlement areas. And for the same reason, the way, one second, you want, Priya, just remind me in the end, I'll give it to you. The link. I have to open my email for that. Okay. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that all the areas which came under permanent settlement are somehow the ones which suffer the most. So the problem is that in colonial India, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta became the three zones of any form of development. Mills also emerged here, industries also emerged here, and therefore these areas got a little bit of boost. However, the fact that after independence also, Bombay and West Bengal had 59% of all total industrial capital and 69% of all national industrial output is in a way very, very big. The fact that 59% of all industrial capital, meaning all industries are here, and 64% of all output comes from two areas itself. And if you go by the per capita income, 352, 331, 272 in Bengal, Punjab and Bombay, and 200, 188, 173 in Bihar, Orissa and Rajasthan. This is not something which has its origin after independence. This is a colonial legacy. Colonial legacy that every part of India is not the same. India, there are certain pockets today, for example, Gujarat, Haryana, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, you have Andhra Pradesh, you have Maharashtra, which actually are quite prosperous. On the other hand, UP also is prosperous, but human development indicators. Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, the Northeast, all of these are not going forward the way should. Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, MP, these are very, very big states and with very big populations, but not going forward. This is called regional imbalance. Now the question is, does regional imbalance exist today? Yes. Is it a challenge? Rajasthan is also a big state, not very prosperous. Is it a challenge? Yes. Does it exist? Yes. Now the question is, how has the government of India since 1947 to 1991 tried to manage it? Can we discuss this? Because again, all of this is rhetorical. No question is coming, just to create a certain understanding in your mind. Is it a challenge? Yes. Does it exist? Yes. But how did we try to tackle it? Can we discuss that? Do you understand the purpose of this discussion? Yes. Okay. Now, when we talk about the strategies, the first strategy which the government of India used is called the Finance Commission. What is the article of the Finance Commission? Quasi-judicial body. Article number 280. Very good. 280, 281. Now, under the Finance Commission, every 5 years, the president appoints the Finance Commission to devise or to divide the pool of taxes, as it's called, the divisibility pool, both horizontally or vertically. Now, this is where the interesting idea comes in. If 100 rupees is the divisibility pool, first thing which the Finance Commission decides is vertical devolution, which is how much should center get, how much should states get. What is the divisibility pool right now? What is this division? How much do states get? Very good. It was 42%. It has now become 41%. With the addition of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, the divisibility pool 1% has been given to the center. 41% goes to the states, and whatever is left goes to the center. 42% it used to be, 1% reduced because of the two UTs which have been created. Now, in that sense, this 59%, which is 59 rupees to the center, 41 rupees to the state. This much, this is not the problem for us. This is what is called vertical devolution. A regional imbalance is not answered through this. Regional imbalance is answered through horizontal devolution. Through horizontal devolution. Horizontal devolution means once this 41 rupees comes in, how much will each state get? There are certain indicators. The most recent was called demographic performance. The better you have performed under demography, the more you get. But generally, the government tries to, the finance commission tries to address regional imbalance, wherein if a state is very prosperous, should it get more or less out of the divisibility pool? Very prosperous, it should get less. So regional imbalance was managed via allocating more to poorer states. But this has not solved the problem. Can anybody tell me why? Not solve the problem. Anybody tell me why? Allocating more to poorer state has not led to anything. Basically, Finance Commission has been incapable of managing this. No incentive, inadequate resources, population, no proper utilization. What do you call it in different economic terms? What do you call it? Imbalance has not been challenged or managed because when the pool money is given, more revenue expenditure and not capital expenditure. Basically, what they're doing is that they are burning cash. Burning the cash or money in areas which do not create assets. So what they're doing is that they're taking the money from the government and giving it as salaries, as pensions, as interest, etc. So the problem is that the fiscal or the finance commission cannot dictate how the money will be spent, and therefore there's an issue that they are burning cash and revenue expenditure. There is no incentive to increase revenue receipts or reduce revenue expenditure. They know that automatically this money is going to come to them and they'll be happy to do it. So therefore, the Finance Commission has failed in that regard to manage this issue. Are we clear how Finance Commission doesn't work out? They take the money and they burn it. They burn it in areas which don't produce any assets. Okay. Simple, straightforward. Finance Commission, vertical and horizontal devolution. Vertical is okay. Horizontally, It is how much each state is going to get. Horizontal devolution, regional imbalance was managed by allocating more money to poorer states, but did not solve the problem because they were not spending it in capital expenditure areas, but revenue expenditure, non-asset producing repetitive expenditure, which was not going to do anything generally. Now, the second is called the Planning Commission. Erstwhile Planning Commission does not exist today. You have the Niti Aayog in place of it. And what are called the 5-year plans. And the idea was very simple, that 5-year plans would be there. And there would be an emphasis. So if you look at the 5-year plan, the first emphasis which was given in the first 5-year plan was the agricultural sector. Agriculture was the emphasis of the first 5-year plan. But the problem with that is that agriculture was in such a bad state that it could not become a driver of change, and basically we burned cash here again. And the areas which were going to get a lot of money, the agriculture state was really bad in the first 5 years itself. And therefore a person called Mahana Lobis, or a statistician economist, PC Mahana Lobis, he changed the emphasis in the second 5-year plan. And in the second 5-year plan, you see there's an exponential increase in industries and mining, and we shifted our focus towards the second 5-year plan towards the industries. But unfortunately, we did not do anything here because of an issue which is called license Raj. It's called license Raj. During the early period between 1956 to 1991, we used to give licenses. And this is again a very interesting strategy. License charge was that we used to dictate the location of industries, in which state it should be. So we used to make sure that if you are making in Jharkhand, you will get more incentives. If you are in Gujarat, you will get less incentives. If you are in Bihar, you will be given more incentives. If you are in Odisha, you will be given more incentive. If you are in Chhattisgarh, you will be given more incentive. But can anybody tell me what is the direct impact of license Raj, in which we try to dictate the location of industries in these areas? What is the exact exact impact? Not corruption, not relativism, a very specific issue with regards to internal security. Naxalism. The problem is that when you will send industries into tribal areas, they will exploit the tribals. And that will in turn lead to an exploitation and a disillusionment, which in turn created naxalism in this area. And for the first time, we saw the difference between growth and development. Development does not equal to growth. Development can only be just private interest going forward. And therefore, when it came to license Raj, where we subsidized, gave concessions, banking, subsidy rates, everything, where we try to guide the location till 1991, this again has not solved the problem. And the issue remains still, and the direct consequence was naxalism. So in a way, every attempt of ours, the first, the second or third, every attempt of ours has failed in solving this issue, and regional imbalance in India still exists in the form we know it today. And regional imbalance is an issue till today. Issue till today, and was also exaggerated by COVID-19. By COVID-19, where Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Orissa, West Bengal, certain northeastern states, MP, all have seen issues of regional disparity. Is this point clear? If it is clear, then I have a very interesting thing to tell you, or ask you rather. First 5-year plan was agriculture. Second 5-year plan was industries. What is the emphasis of the government today? What is the emphasis of the government today, government of India? Which sector? Which sector? Not tertiary. Tertiary is not the one. Human development service, no. Not make in India manufacturing, no. We are back to agriculture, where the government of India has realized that agriculture has shown resilience through the recession, through more or less everything. So doubling farmers' income is the motto, and this is the emphasis of the government right now. Though we are now also pushing for Make in India, but the fact of the matter is Make in India only is an initiative. The government's main important push is multiple sector help, from food processing to fertilizer, to make sure that the income of the farmer doubles. And therefore, agriculture, with close to 47% of the population, still remains our focus today. Skill development and all is okay. We are talking about governmental policy. Which sector? Skill development does not even have the budgetary allocation to, but doubling farmers' income is very high. Sichai, Fasal Bima, Manrega, very high. Right? Okay. Are we clear? Because if we are clear, we move to the second topic and then we take a small break. Land reform. Land reform. Can we talk about land reform? I told you small topics. Just having a small stroll through history with you, in which we are discussing basically how things are going forward. Simple, straightforward stroll through history. We are just covering the journey of India. Okay. Now, if you look at the data of farmers, 56 to 70% of all farmers in India come under marginal or small land holding. This is even today. But when we got independence, the biggest problem was zamindars. Zamindars are one wherein the concentration of land was there, and if not, money lenders. Now, in 1947, one thing was very clear, that peasant is either a tenant or is landless properly. And what is even more problematic is that there are people with hundreds and hundreds of acres, and then some people with not even 1 acre, not even 1 bigha, 2 kattha, 3 kattha. And more than that, if you're a tenant, some zamindar is asking for 90% of the share, some is asking for 20, 50, 30, 40. You can be removed at any point of time. So there is no certainty. There is no concept of how we call it in the way that there is no tenure security and there is no security of share. So how much the share is going to be, how much the tenure is, nothing is talked about. So in India in 1950 itself onwards, there was a real bad need for land reforms. But unfortunately, when it comes to land, India is very, very bad because land equals to social status. So basically, brother, brother, father, son, father, brother, brother, any combination you take, and we are ready to kill each other for land. Any combination. We are ready to kill each other for land, and therefore land is social status. Land is social status. So one thing is very, very clear, that for social status, we would be ready not to give up land generally. And in a country where agriculture prevails, land is already very important. And therefore, land reforms is something which was taken up and is also based on two DPSPs, 39 BNC, which is redistribution of wealth and non-concentration of wealth in few hands. Over and above that, we also removed Article 31, removed it as a fundamental right because land could not be linked to fundamental right, which was then going to be exploited by zamindars. And therefore, India being a typical agrarian economy, there are multiple institutional discrepancies and socio-economic inequalities, poverty, inequality, exploitation, whatever you want to call it, is based on the idea that land is status. And therefore, for the same reason, when it comes to land reforms, the government of India took up this initiative. It is considered the worst implemented and the biggest failure in most of the states, except for West Bengal and Kerala. Common to them, the Communist Party rule, and certain parts of Andhra Pradesh. Most of the places, it is only here where it worked. Everywhere else it wasn't. So then what are the features of land reform? First is called the abolition of intermediaries. The easiest. Would be easiest. Would it have been better idea to push the landless farmers towards industries? No. What industries? Which industry? Which industry? In 1947 for 50, which industry? And pushing those into the industrial sector is already very dangerous. Then you create urban slums. You can't push people. until unless it is a standard process of structural transformation, like industrial revolution. But there is no industrial revolution. There is no industry at this point of time. The problem is the secondary sector is equally bad as the primary sector. Land is something which could have helped these people more. The abolition of intermediaries is very straightforward. That they abolish the zamindari, malwari, and the rayatwari, and now zamindar and moneylender as a position cannot exist, but zamindar still exist. The second one was the concept of tenancy reform, that tenants should have certain certainties. What do I mean by certainties? Certainties mean that rent should be fixed and rational, that 50-50, 60-40 should be the sharing. Security of tenure, that tenure meaning how long you can produce should also be there, written. And land to the tiller, if you have been producing a land for 12 years, producing land which is unclaimed for 12 years, you can automatically take ownership for it. That is called tenancy reform. So for the zamindars in the class, remember, if you let your malguzar or your tenant without claiming land produce for 12 years, the tenant can claim that it is his own property. But the biggest side to the tenant land reforms were called land ceiling. Land ceiling said that if you have land over certain ceiling, for example 100 acres, 50 acres, 20 acres, there are 3 people with this much, it said that the ceiling is only 30 acres. So this person would not be touched, but this person would lose 20 acres. This person would lose 80 acres. This person would lose 170 acres. 70 acres. And what would happen is that all the land which has been taken in ceiling would then be redistributed to tenants. The concept is very simple. Landless poor should be given by law land, whilst consolidation of land through ceiling. However, the biggest problem was land ceiling is only for an individual. So a lot of sons were disowned at this point of time, saying that I don't think this is my son. And if a person is holding 100 acres and he has 5 sons, what could be done is that he would disown them and each would get 20 acres. And now they go out of ceiling itself. Then cooperatives were produced. Cooperatives were actually misused. 50 farmers who have together 10 acres and one farmer zamindar who has 100 acres used to come together into one cooperative. Now there is 110 acres for 51 people. So now again you evade ceiling. Most of the places ceiling laws were not applied only because the IS officers and the MLAs and MPs were themselves going under ceiling. So when it comes to ceiling laws itself, achievement is dismal. Tenancy reformed only affected 4% of tenants. Redistribution of ownership happened in 2% of all area. Together, it only impacted 6% of the land area in India. When we talk about land reforms, it is considered the worst implemented because either there was no political will, there was neither corruption, the people, the bureaucracy itself did not want to apply ceiling. So I don't know if there is somebody here who's lost or gained land under ceiling. But if you lost land, my condolences. If you gained land, sure, very good. It's all because of Government of India. But mostly people were there. They neither gained anything, neither they lost anything generally. Are we clear? Land reforms. Several foreigners made India homeland and participated in movements. Annie Besant. You can talk about multiple people. William Wedderburn. You can talk about A.O. Yoon. Sure, why not? No gain, no loss. How do we get the idea that which sector government is focusing on? Like agriculture, it seems like skill development. You're still stuck at skill development, Priya. No, it is not skill development. Skill development schemes are there, but is the allocation of skill development equal to the allocation to Ministry of Agriculture? Just check that out. Outcome of this movement, zero, nothing. Land is still an issue. We all are in the same position right now. Can we take a break here? 10 minutes and then we start last discussion. Yes? Okay. So we come back at what? 6:40 and then we'll take the story forward. Perfect. Last 1.5 hours. Welcome back. Break completed, break completed, break completed. Anupali, you join always late. Close to 1.5 hours late. And then break completed, break completed, break completed. Very good, very good. Somebody wanted that link. 1 second. I'm just sending the link. Somebody wanted it. I'm just looking for that email. Everybody's back. I'll just give me 1 second. I'm looking for the link. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Article links. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now our discussion, last 1 hour 10 minutes of the class with me. We have to discuss something called political currents during March. Can you give strategy for prepare? Revision as much as possible. Quickly revise everything. Do not wait for a miracle to happen. Start as soon as possible. Revise as much as possible. That is the story. And after February, stop doing mains preparation. 15 minutes rule is good enough, but have to also revise other things which are for other subjects and bigger concepts itself. 15 minutes rule is for facts. Okay. Now an area which basically is irrelevant because of the fact that it is basically Congress's history, and it is quite unlikely that they'll ask a question on Congress history. So when we talk about Congress history, Polkunda, last 15 minutes. When we talk about the Congress history, quite unlikely you will get a question out of this area, which is, for example, what is one party domination, what is 1960, the Indira Gandhi era, this and that. Most likeliest of unlikeliest of places to ask a question. So we should not be, and we don't need to go into a lot of detail. Here you just need to know 2 to 3 things. When we talk about our political currents, the first 3 general elections in India were dominated by one party, which is obviously the INC, the party which gave you independence, the party which was of the party of Patel, Nehru, and Rajendra Prasad. The party which is known to give you independence itself will be very, very popular. And between 1952 to 1967, Congress domination is the period. 3 general elections back to back. But this last period between 1964 to 67 is very turbulent. And the reason was that in 1964, Jawaharlal Nehru will die. And then you will have Lal Bahadur Shastri. But in 1966, Lal Bahadur Shastri will also die. And in 1967, there was a major tussle between two personalities, the daughter of Jawaharlal Nehru and Morarji Desai. And that battle was won by Indira Gandhi herself. But by 1967, the basic effects of 3 wars, 1947, 1961, and 65, all 3 were coming through. And over and above that, something will rise in the period of 1967. 1967, we will have multiple issues which will happen. 3 prime ministers in 3 years. And the economic crisis, declining agriculture production, food shortage, dependence on foreign exchange, reserves drop in industrial production, everything will kick in. And 67 elections is very significant because it's called non-congressism. It's called non-congressism, that today how we have non-BJPism, which is try to win the election by making sure that Congress does not basically form a party or form the government itself. So though the lowest tally will come in the general election when it comes to Congress itself, for the first time in multiple states, the Congress will not come to power. The center will be won by Indira Gandhi, but the state politics will be not won, and DMK will emerge as the first non-coalition based non-coalition based state party which will dominate everything. But why is 1967 considered so important? Because 1967, as much as Congress will lose a lot of seats, it is also the era of what we call as coalition politics and defection. 2 things will emerge in 1967. One called Ayaram Gayaram, which is people defecting from one party to the other. One on a certain seat will go to the different party itself. And coalition politics, which is no clear majority, 2 to 3 parties coming together. But the problem with coalition politics is that mostly politically incongruent parties used to come together just to make sure that the Congress does not form the government itself. And therefore, no single party and non-congressism was something which will rise in 1967. So if somebody asks you when did Indian politics change forever, it is 1967. 1967 will create the need for anti-defection laws also, because in Haryana, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, there will be multiple people who will keep on moving from one government, one party to the other party to the other, the other party to the other. And this will basically become a very dangerous tendency, which will be then curbed through the anti-defection laws. So 1967 broke a chain from 1952 to 66, which is 51 to 66, which is the one party domination. 67 will see major defection, major coalition politics, and this is where Indian politics will change into multi-party coalition politics. However, 1967 is very important for the Congress, because the Indian National Congress, as you know it from the 1885 itself, Indian National Congress, 1885, there will be a major tussle between 2 groups. One is called Syndicate and the other one is called Indira Gandhi. Syndicate were the MPs from South India, as headed by a person called K. Kamraj. And Indira Gandhi versus syndicate will emerge in this period after they will lose the elections more or less in most of the states. And the tussle between these two is going to come in when it will come to the presidential election, wherein Neelan Sanjeeva Reddy versus VV Giri will happen. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy versus VV Giri will happen. VV Giri nominated by Indira Gandhi, syndicate will nominate Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, and VV Giri will win. And when VV Giri will win in 1968-69, your INC will split into two: Congress O, Congress R. Congress original or organizationist and requisitionist. And it is this Congress R which today is the INC, which is this INC which you see today is this one, Indira Gandhi's Congress R. And Congress O later will become part of the Janata government, and then more or less the syndicate will die out. So the split between Congress will happen in 1969-68 period, and the swagger of Indira Gandhi was that when it come to 71 war or the 71 elections, she will win it alone with Congress R with Garibi Hatao as a slogan. And thereafter, she will implement two very important things. One, Bangladesh war she will win, which we'll discuss just in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And then the Green Revolution, which is basically the way India got food security, though applied by Shastri, implemented properly by Indira Gandhi. However, by 1974 and 75, India will go into the very dark phase of the emergency, because India was reeling under a lot of issues when it comes to unemployment in Bihar, and the JP movement will rise by 1974. And when the Allahabad High Court will annul the seat of Indira Gandhi for using state machinery for winning the elections in 1971, this will in turn lead to her using the clause under Article 352, which is internal disturbance. That is why that clause has been now removed. And what has been put in? What has been put in vis-a-vis internal disturbance? Now, what is the word which is there under Article 352? It's called armed rebellion. Now, only when there is an armed rebellion, you can claim national emergency. And the emergency will be there. Malified intentions, fait accompli for the cabinet. A lot of changes will be made with regards to emergency clause after Indira Gandhi will remove the emergency. And in 1977, the Janata Party will win the elections with a pure majority. But the problem with Janata Party was it had too many prime ministers. So, going from Nehru to Shastri to Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai will become the first prime minister of the Janata government. But thereafter, Charan Singh will say that I want to be prime minister now. And after 2 years, Chaudhry Charan Singh is going to break the Janata Party. And in turn, this will basically dissolve the government itself. And people will again choose Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi will get assassinated due to the idea of Khalistan. She will basically allow the Operation Blue Star to happen, wherein the Khalistanis, which wanted the secession of Punjab outside India, issue which still remains today, she allowed the army to enter into the Golden Temple. The Sikh community the Khalistanis are going to take revenge by her two Sikh bodyguards assassinating her. Then Rajiv Gandhi will come in. Rajiv Gandhi will get embroiled in what is called as LTTE issue, which is Lankan Tamil Tigers, the Sri Lanka issue. And he will again be assassinated by a LTTE terrorist. And thereafter, we have interim Vishwa Pratap Singh, then Chandrasekhar, Then PV Narasimha Rao. PV Narasimha Rao is the one who changed India forever, because his finance minister Manmohan Singh is going to then go for LPG. Thereafter, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, two very important stints for this personality. And then our current Prime Minister since 2014 itself, who has taken India from being what we know as India to New India. This is basically the political current. Out of this area, you will mostly not get any form of questions. That is the problem. More or less, you will not get any questions. We have to discuss here. On Vijay Divas, we will discuss Bangladesh. Yes, Akash, first thing I mentioned today in the morning. If I have your permission, I would like to tell you about the wars, and then we can make the master timeline and end the class today and complete our course itself. Are we clear about political currents? You understand it is all a story of Congress. So basically, nobody is going to ask you, as it is this government will make sure that no question comes with regards to that in the UPSC itself. Yes? Okay, perfect. Aditya, you sent an email. I have not seen it. I have not received an email from you till this point. Okay, yes. Okay. I got it. 11:25. Okay. We will finish the topic today. Yes. Why INC still owns dynamic ambition? Why? Why INC still owns dynastic ambition still? Vivek, stop talking like a politician. Dynasty. Have your opinion or stop talking like a politician. This is not dynastic ambition. You're talking like politicians. The same people who talk about dynastic made sure it did not become part of the Cold War, made sure that India is what it is today. So no prime minister can be dissolved or discounted for what they've not done for India. So stop talking like this. As a UPSC aspirant, at least you should not do it. Okay. Nepotism, whatever you want to call it. Sure. You are entitled for your own opinion. That is totally your call. But sure. Okay. Now we have to discuss multiple wars: 1947, 61, 62, 1965. Do we need to study emergency? Anand, you will discuss that in polity. I hope you would have done it in polity. Have you done it in polity? Already discussed, yes. You've done it in polity. Emergency would have been done in a lot of. There was a book on Kindle titled Dynastic Ambition, so asked. Sure. Very good. Very good. Okay. Two complete lectures. Nah, that is a proper idea. Yes, sir. Perfect. Okay. What is the timing of tomorrow's class? As always, 10 to 8. CSAT will start, I think, for you. Okay. Now, the first war India fought, we already know, is called the Indo-Pak War. And this was because of the instrument or the issue of accession of Jammu and Kashmir. So this I don't need to do because I've already discussed it with you previously. And it was from which the LOC emerges. And India basically reels under one of the biggest issue with Pakistan because of this. Because of the way the Pakistanis have till today, and as of right now, as we speak, they sit on this line which is called LOC. So India lost this territory to the Pakistanis and their illegal occupation because of the first Indo-Pak War. And this is an issue which cannot be solved because it has a lot of political connotations for Pakistan itself. Though it is very clear that Jammu and Kashmir, all of it is India's territory, but Pakistan occupies a part of a Kashmir which is called POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, with the LOC being the line where we control or where we hold the border. This is not the issue. The more problematic is called the 1961-62 war of Indo-China or Indo-Chinese war. Now, the Indo-Chinese war or the Sino-Indian wars, the India-China wars of 1961-62 and specifically 62 is based on one more line which is there, which is called the McMahon line, which is called the McMahon line. Sometimes written like this, sometimes written like this, McMahon line. And this line, its origin itself is problematic because in 1916 and first in 1914, the British wanted to demarcate its territory with China. But the problem with this is Tibet. Tibet argues that it is not part of China, it is an autonomous area, and China argues that Tibet is part of China. The Tibetans have a spiritual and political leader, and his name is Dalai Lama. His name is Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama is the political and spiritual leader of Tibet. And the problem was that when in 1914 and 1916, the McMahon line or the McMahon conference happened, the British, what they did is what they messed up this for us generally, because they called British India, which was the viceroy, and these fools called China and both representatives of the Tibet. This was basically like asking the CM of Rajasthan and the Prime Minister of India to come together for a certain conference with Pakistan. And therefore, the Chinese walked out of this conference, but the Britishers still ironically went forward with Tibet in demarcating this line. Therefore, the McMahon line is recognized by only India and Tibet, but China does not recognize it. China has its own line which they recognize, and this is all again British created. Their line goes like this. Their line goes like this. In this sector, it is all okay, but then it comes down towards Arunachal Pradesh. So the red line which you see is the international line which India recognizes. The black line is what the Chinese recognize as their line. So the problem is India recognizes the red line and the Chinese recognize the black line. Now the point was that between 1950s and 60s, India had an initial period. 50s, India had a very good relationship with Mao and China itself. Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, a lot of things were done. We also gave up our P5 position to the Chinese in that sense, wherein Nehru did a mistake in that sense. But the fact of the matter is, things will go south very quickly when in 1959 and 58 period, the Chinese will crack down on the Tibetans. And when the Chinese will crack down on the Tibetans, Dalai Lama will cross over into India and reach a place called Dharamshala or McLeodganj. And the Dalai Lama will ask Nehru for political asylum, which is political refugee. And herein, again, a mistake will be done, wherein Dalai Lama will be given political asylum. Until today in Dharamshala, you have Dalai Lama's Tibetan government in exile. And therefore, now China started to argue that India was doing anti-China activity. And in 1962, we saw a very interesting, but very problematic, but very weird war. So what the Chinese did was that between 1959, 60 and 61, and 61, 62 specifically, the Chinese started to enter into the Indian territories. And because we had no access to GPS or we did not have access to any basic data from this area, the Chinese started to move in the whole sector itself. And by the time we get to know that the Chinese have entered, they were already 10 to 15 kilometers inside. And what does happen is that by the time India-China war starts in 62, we were already on a back foot. And once this war starts to become political and becomes international, the Chinese somehow take an unilateral ceasefire, and whilst they exit from this area, while they exit from this area, still Arunachal remains an issue, wherein they exit from this area while sitting near the Bomdila Pass itself. They did not exit from this area. And therefore, this line turned out to be what is called as the LAC, line of actual control. Now, ironically, the LAC is not, in a way, not recognized by anybody. It's just an informal agreement with China. And that is why from time to time, India and China fight over the LAC. The fact of the matter is, though Arunachal was given up and though there was an issue with regards to the Arunachal residents not being given a visa saying that they're Chinese residents, the 1962 war was a major failure of the Indian government, the Indian army and intelligence, because we had no idea what was happening. So when we talk about the Sino-Indian War 62, two developments soured the relationship with China itself. One, the McMahon line, the other, Dalai Lama getting political asylum in India in 1959. And between 1957 and 59, the Chinese started to strategically, in a way, sit in what they call as exciting. And when in October of 1962, a massive invasion started, we were already on the back foot because within 1 week, they were sitting on most important sectors. And the second wave attack will come in the next month itself. And ironically, the Indian forces were though able to fight in the Pyongyang sector, the Ladakh sector, and in the Bomdila sector. Once this issue became international, China would lose face. So China took a unilateral ceasefire, and the invasion ended with the Chinese leaving from the Arunachal sector, but from North Exai. And therefore, India today has two lines. One is called the LAC and the LOC. While the LOC is recognized by everybody, it's a international line. LAC is an informal agreement with India and China, and that is why the issue of the Pyongyang, so where they are keeping for moving forward and backward. And therefore, India fought its second war in a very weird way, with nobody having no idea itself. Right? So are we clear about 47 and 61, 62? Major face lost in 61 war. And it's again a major disgrace that it was a total intelligence failure. We had no idea where the Chinese were sitting. No idea whatsoever. When Nehru said forward policy, the Chinese were already 20 kilometers inside. Okay. Now comes the Pakistanis, and the Pakistani will remain the Pakistani. Their issue is that they always think that they are too oversmart, and therein comes 1965. The issue is 1965 is very simple. Pakistan thought that India was the same as 61, 62. LOC, LAC recognized, no, we don't recognize either. Both are illegal occupations. Chinese also and Pakistani also. But you will find certain international authorities showing the LOC and LAC both. For example, the UN will do it. Aksai for permanent settlement. Although political suicide, is it possible for future government to consider? But see, Arunachal is part of India, and that is also recognized by the Chinese. But they keep on trying to create controversy over it. Getting back LAC is problematic again because a nuclear power. So we have nuclear powers on both sides. That is the biggest issue. Now, Pakistan thought that India was the same as 1962. So they said that let's do one thing. Let's try to take Kashmir. So what these fools do is that they first have an incursion in what is called Sar Creek. In Sar Creek, there, because of the terrain, the Indian army is not able to respond the way they should. And the Pakistanis come to a very dangerous conclusion that India is not ready for war. Lal Bahadur Shastri says to them that we can fight you at any place and wherever we want. So don't be over smart. But the Pakistanis had already come to a conclusion that Sir Creek means India is not ready. And therefore, in 1965, what will happen is that the Pakistanis will now again start to infiltrate into POK. From POK, they will start a major invasion of Jammu and Kashmir, Pulwama sector, and that whole sector itself. But here, Lal Bahadur Shastri showed a lot of character. The Pakistanis were entering through three passes: Haji Pir, Khyber, and Gomal. Now, when Lal Bahadur Shastri gets to know that the infiltration is happening from these three passes, 1965 war, Lal Bahadur Shastri said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, if you remember, that we don't need to actually sit at where we are. He actually asked the Indian Army to cross the LOC and hold these three passes. And by end of 1965, India was sitting 20 kilometers away from Lahore. And now, as soon as the Pakistanis saw that India was pushing back too much, they went to the UN and to their masters, the British and the Americans, and they said that India is the aggressor, India is the aggressor. Now, US and UK will put an economic blockade around India, but India was not the aggressor, it was the Pakistanis. And this issue will go to a third-party arbitration in USSR, which is called the Tashkent Agreement. Tashkent Agreement 1966. India was holding and had entered Pakistan, was holding all three passes, had also taken most of the POK. But the problem was USSR, Russia said that if you will hold on to these old areas and not go back to LOC, the war will not end and I will not be able to give you support. And therefore, in 1966, Lal Bahadur Shastri agreed to a very problematic but very important agreement wherein we moved back to the LOC even after capturing most of POK. And therefore 66 ended with Tashkent and India losing its strategic hold over these three passes and POK. But it was a very important win for the Indian Army, which had lost face in 1961. So 65 is a very straightforward war. The first came the dress rehearsal in the run of Kutch. We were not able to respond because of the terrain. So the basic conclusion was that the Indian armed forces and Indian government was not ready for war. So thereafter, he giving no heed to J.N. Chaudhary and Shastri that they could defeat a time and place of choosing. The Pakistanis will infiltrate the Kashmir Valley, again try to create opinion that the people should rise, the people did not. And taking account of seriousness of Pakistani infiltration, Shastri ordered the army to cross the ceasefire line, seal the passes through which they had come through, which is Kargil, Uri, Haji Pir, Gomal and Khyber Pass. All passes were closed by India. Once that happens, we have no other option after the tank infiltration attack to go and take this to the UN because the Pakistanis take it to their masters. We were sitting very, very close from away from Lahore and Sialkot, but once the US will get involved, it will in turn lead to sanctions. And China was making a lot of aggressive noises, and China was on Pakistan's side. So the Soviet Union, sympathetic, will ask for a ceasefire and the infiltration of Kashmir to stop. Though India will lose everything through the Tashkent Agreement, still it was a major victory for the Indian Army itself. And the Tashkent Agreement, which will happen in Tashkent, now in Uzbekistan, previously in USSR, General Ayub Khan, Shastri, and Soviet Union will meet. All occupied territories will be given back because no other option was left. And therefore, after 19 months of being Prime Minister, he will sign this agreement and then also die by 1966 in Tashkent itself, thereby leading to the succession of Indira Gandhi. So 66 is considered the most best and worst war because we were able to take back POK in a way, but had to give it back because the Russians said that if we don't, we will be seen as an aggressor and USSR could not support us in any way or form. So we strategically gave up those positions to have a better relationship with USSR and generally not be called an aggressor. But 65 restored most of the faith in the Indian army that they could fight and do anything and whatever they wanted to do. 65 clear. Again, Pakistan 65. 671 is the most interesting. 65 clear. Again, no questions are going to come from this area. There is nothing to be taught here. But I'm just telling you this because you should know the story generally. No question till this point has been asked from this area ever and will not be asked. 71. 71 is a very interesting one. See, 71 had nothing to do with India generally. It was actually West Pakistan and East Pakistan issue. See, West Pakistan is a Urdu Muslim and East Pakistan is Bengali Muslim. So generally there was never a proper cohesion between these two areas. But the real drama starts in 1965 to 70 period. First, what happens is that most of the allocation of money when it came to for development, West Pakistan was discriminating against East Pakistan. And that is why there was a party which came, which was called the Awami League. And this is the, today we are discussing this on the Vijay Divas anniversary itself, 16 December. The Awami League under a person called Mujibur Rahman had been emerging in East Pakistan, which is to say that the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto party, which is called the PPP, Pakistan's People's Party. This party was basically the real power which was holding everything. And the president of the Pakistani government was Yahya Khan. Now, as it is, West Pakistan was generally discriminating against East Pakistan. And what happens is that now in 1969-70, two things happened together. First, a cyclone hits East Pakistan, which is called the Bhola cyclone. Don't go by its name. Bhola cyclone is considered one of the worst cyclones to ever hit the Indian subcontinent. 5 lakh Bengali Muslims in Bangladesh died, or in East Pakistan died. And rather than West Pakistan helping East Pakistan, they did not even send 1 rupee of aid. It was rather the Indira Gandhi government which became very close to the Awami League and Mujibur Rahman, because India contributed a lot to the relief activities in East Pakistan. But the real shock comes in 1970. 1970 was the first general election in Pakistan, and there were total 300 seats, out of which close to 150 seats are here. 150 seats are here, and there is 150 seats here. But rather than having 150, Yahya Khan, what he did was that he manipulated this number because he did not want equal weightage to both areas. Rather, he made it into 250 seats and gave 180 seats here and close to 80 to 70 seats here. So in a 250 basic parliament, nobody could win majority properly until unless he won some seats in East Pakistan and some seats in West Pakistan. So when the 1970 elections happened, where the PPP, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Mujibur Rahman both fight the election, what happens is that the Awami League wins close to 120 to 130 seats total and Mujibur Rahman is not even able to win 86 seats. So rather, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto is not able to even win 86 seats. And therefore, the Awami League should have formed the government in Pakistan. But because a person from East Pakistan had won the election, Yahya Khan will annul the election itself and say that it was an illegal election and appoint Zulfikar Ali Bhutto as the Prime Minister. And this will basically lead to the Awami League now saying enough is enough. We want to become a separate nation. Wherein East Pakistan, the Awami League will now become what we call as the Mukti Bahini. Bahini. And Mukti Bahini will now start to fight for its independence. That we want to become independent. Here, till this point, India has no role whatsoever. Now, what will happen is as soon as Mukti Bahini will become active, West Pakistan will one day stop all commercial flights, and now the Pakistani army will land in East Pakistan and start to kill and basically fight with the Mukti Bahini. Till this point again. So Gaurav, he won 70 seats in East Pakistan and he won seats in West Pakistan also. That is the beauty of Mujibur Rahman. That he won all the seats in East Pakistan and he also won in West Pakistan. So he really deserved to be the Prime Minister. Now, the fact is that till this point, it's called a civil war. East and West Pakistan are fighting. India is not involved. India is in no way is involved. However, now Pakistan is Pakistan. Unne bola, let's do one more thing. Let's do one thing. Let us also take Kashmir with this. And these fools, what they will do, whilst fighting in Pakistan, in Bhuj, there will be 3 terrorist attacks in India. And as soon as in Bhuj, the Pakistanis will intervene and basically involve India, now Indira Gandhi will say enough is enough. You are already doing too much to East Pakistan, which has now been called Bangladesh. And now basically India closes the airspace between this whole area. And they say that if any plane taking off from West Pakistan will go to East Pakistan, we will be shooting it down. Now, in the history of the world, the biggest surrender in the world has been only in the 1971 war, when India closed the airspace and India got involved in the East Pakistan war. 93,000 soldiers who had no reinforcement, no food and nothing, surrendered to the joint army of the Mukti Bahini and the Indian army, which is still today considered a world record for the biggest surrender, will be done. Bangladesh will be recognized as a separate country altogether, and Pakistan will lose its eastern sector itself. The day we won it is called Vijay Divas, which is today in 1971. So the basic point was India was not involved in this initially. It was totally a Pakistan issue. Once the Mukti Bahini started to get what we call as aggressive, when West Pakistan became very aggressive with East Pakistan, India still was not involved. Only when on 3rd December 1971, our Air Force bases will be attacked, then the then Prime Minister will say that we enter the Bangladesh war. And at the end of the war, 93,000 soldiers will surrender to the Indian army, which till today is considered the biggest surrender in the world. What was the UN doing? Nothing. And this is the story of 71. 71, India showed that it was not the same India of 1961. The biggest mistake which Pakistan made was to involve Indians. They were doing very well till India was not involved. This Bhuj attack, which is their over smartness to always take something more than what they want, is what basically literally killed them. Yes, USA-USSR intervention was not, see, even before USA-USSR was able to do anything, The war was already over. Okay, now comes the last and the most interesting war on which you have multiple movies being made, which is called the Kargil War. 1999, thereafter I give you the master timeline. Now, when we talk about Kargil War is based on one very important hill, which is called the Tiger Hill, which is in the Kargil sector. Kargil Dras sector was the one in focus. Now, in between 1971 and 99, Pakistan was not ready to do anything generally. But in 1999, there was a gentleman's agreement between India and Pakistan that in the cold temperatures of Kashmir and Jammu, we had an agreement that we used to leave the peak of any hill, come down during the summers and during the winters, and go back during the winters. Now, the Pakistani army, dressed in civilian clothes, broke this gentleman agreement, and they infiltrated into the Dras sector and the Kargil sector and took the Tiger Hill. And the fact of the matter is, in the Tiger Hill incident, what happens is, it is a shepherd who actually identifies that there was infiltration, because these Pakistani soldiers were taking very heavy machinery up the Tiger Hill itself. And he was able to see, yes, Aditya, he was able to see that they were not Indian army. So we get to know about the Tiger Hill infiltration quite late. And by the time we send a search campaign under Captain Saurabh Kalia, the infiltration was already complete, and Saurabh Kalia, along with his search party, is brutally murdered and sent back by the Pakistani army, sending chills across the Indian army itself. A lot of mobilization will start, but India, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee will then talk to Nawaz Sharif. So Nawaz Sharif will say that no, it is not the Indian army, it is Kashmiri freedom fighters. So then Atal Bihari Vajpayee will say that if they are Kashmiri freedom fighters, how do they have heavy machine gun like the anti-tank missiles, rocket launchers, and heavy machine guns itself? So the first task which India had to do was to prove that the people sitting on Tiger Hill were Pakistani army. And therefore, in this joint operation where the Indian army and the Indian Air Force played a very important role, we did two things. One, we were able to take an intermediate post here in which we got bodies of the Pakistani army, which were then shown to Bill Clinton, saying that they are talking about Kashmiri freedom fighters, but this is the Pakistani army with their ID cards. At the same point of time, we have a national hero, Captain Vikram Batra, who will do the impossible, which is because the hill is very steep from the front, he will go from the southern sector, climb a vertical cliff, and then with 11 hours of gunfighting, he will liberate Tiger Hill. And at the same point, Tiger Hill will be recaptured. Nawaz Sharif will lose ground internationally because the proof shown by India was damning. And by 26th July, the infiltration was over. Atal Bihari Vajpayee showed that how leadership can change a war. And after Kargil, the Pakistanis have now just been doing terrorist activities, Pulwama being the biggest in that regard, but have never had the courage to fight Indians again. Therefore, Kargil war remains the last major war we fought with the Pakistanis. So Kargil war broke out on May of 1999. 60 days. Local shepherds reported the presence of Pakistani infiltrators in the Jammu and Kashmir sector, Ladakh region itself. The Indian Army set up patrol units under Captain Saurabh Kalia, who was captured and brutally murdered. Heavy shelling will then start from the Pakistani side on 9th, and infiltration will keep on increasing from the Kashmir Valley itself. Dras Mushko and Kaksar sector were the most affected. Thereafter, the Indian Army moves its troops from the Kashmir Valley towards Kargil. Intense fighting from both sides. In June, Indian Army releases documents confirming the involvement of the Pakistani Army and not Kashmiri freedom fighters. Even though initially taken by surprise, the Indian Army showed very, very beautiful tactical understanding. Our soldiers were braving the hostile environments of Kargil itself, and the Indian Air Force was able to give very close support. On 4th July, the Indian Army captured Tiger Hill for an 11-hour battle and recovered Dras automatically. A major breakthrough will then happen when Pakistan was losing face internationally, because Nawaz Sharif will be called by Bill Clinton about how India had shown a lot of evidences. On 5th July, Nawaz Sharif will meet Clinton and then withdraw his troops. The pullback will start from 11th, and by 14th, Dr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the Prime Minister, Dr. Atal Vajpayee, will announce that the Kargil war was over, Operation Vijay was a success, and by 26th, everything will be over, thereby completing our syllabus, and your post-independence story is complete. With this, your adhyay is over. The journey with me is over. I have brought you from 1498 till 1999. So congratulations. Your journey is over with regards to modern India post-independence. Just to give you a taste of whatever questions come, see, these are two type of questions which have come previously, and I think you are capable of writing it. Assess the main administrative issues, socio-cultural problems in integration of princely states, 1. And discuss whether the formation of new states in recent times is beneficial for the Indian economy or not. Here again, it's a balancing act. This is administrative issues. We talk about Jodhpur, Junagadh, Kashmir. Here, you have to give a balanced answer. Is it good for? Yes, if it is a good state, leads to welfare, sure. If it's a state which has more issues than actually is not fiscally viable, it is an issue for the what we call as public exchequer. These are the 2-3 topics which basically come, which is princely states and reorganization. If we are all clear about it, I would love to give you the master timeline and end the class. Before I do that, I hope modern India and post-independence is clear. Post-independence story is complete. You do not have to actually worry about post-independence. Just study it after the prelims, not right now. Your strategy with regards to post-independence is you've been with me for one class today. You have the recording. Wait, just don't do anything. You have a basic idea of what I've done today? Basic idea of what I've done today. Yes or no? Do you? Do you have a basic idea of what I've done today? Yes. Now don't worry. Forget about post-independence. Just pick these PPTs up in after June and then just revise them. That's it. So don't have to worry about post-independence in any way or form. So I hope that modern India is clear. Post-independence as it is a formality. Literal formality it is. I hope modern India is perfectly clear in everybody's mind. Yes? Okay. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's make our master timeline. This is me revising with you modern India. Every date written here is important. If you can remember these, your work is already done. Okay. This is, I'll keep on making it and marking it. Vasco da Gama comes to India. Cabral comes to India. Goa is captured from Bijapur. Goa becomes Capital of Portuguese. This is basically the Portuguese story. Thereafter, Jahangir, Farman, Surat, Jahangir, Farman. You have Broch, Mosli-Patnam, Agra, Bengal, Ahmedabad. This is Golden Farman. This is Chandragiri Farman. This is Chandragiri Farman. This is Shah Shuja Farman. Keep on revising with me. I'm revising whole modern India with you till 1947. Shah Shuja Farman. Bombay given to East India Company. This is Aurangzeb's pardon. And this is Farooq Siyar Farman. Anybody has any issue here? No? Okay. Now comes the next phase, which is number 2. Number 2, 1757, 1765, 1772, not 1772, but 6970, 1772, 1793, not 93, 1773, 1784, 1793, 1813, 1833, 1857. Here the timeline is much shorter. This is Plassey. This is Buxar and Treaty of Allahabad, and what we call as Grant of Diwani. This is famines in Bengal, Clive, end of dual government, Hastings. This is Regulating Act. This is Pitt's India Act. This is Charter 1853 Charter, and this is Revolt of 1857. The fact of the matter remains, here Charter, it was 5 lakh pounds. Here India lost. Here China lost. And here open competition. And one more very important thing, till this point, it is Governor of Bengal. Then from this point till this point, it is Governor General of Bengal. From 1833 to 1857, it is Governor General of India. And after 1858, it becomes Governor General of India and Viceroy. Anybody has any issue here? Because after this, it will start to open. Till this point, it's very close. It will start to open. Yes? Okay. Now comes the major period, which is called Crown Rule. It's called the Crown Rule. 1858, 1861, 1897, 1899, 1899 I've written, so it has to be 92 first. 1 second. 1885, 1899, 1903, 1904, 1905, 1906, 1907. This is Government of India Act 1858, Victoria's Proclamation. Then this is Indian Council Act, formation of INC. This is Chapekar brothers Rand assassination. This is Curzon reactionary politics. 1903 is Bengal partition announced. 1892. Okay, you can add 1892, which is Indian. One I thought Indian Council at 1892. 1904 is Official Secrets Act and Universities Act. This is partition of Bengal and Swadeshi. Also the Benares session. This is Calcutta session, which is Dadabhai Naroji. And this is Surat split. Surat split. 1899 is Curzon reactionary politics, which is Calcutta Corporation Act. Calcutta Corporation Act. Don't give me the Gajni effect that you've never known about these things. Okay. Are we clear about this phase? Sugar split. Vernacular press act and on don't matter to me. I will. Yes, sure, Tina. I will give you only major dates. These are dates which you cannot forget. Okay. Then 3, 1908, 1909, 1910. 1908, did anything happen? No, we can start from 1909 only. 1909, 1911, 1913, 1915, 1914, 15, 1916, 1917, 1918, 1919, 1920, 1921, 1922. Indian Council Act, Morlemento, shift of capital, Calcutta to Delhi. I have given you micro timelines. You already know that every class. 1906 you want to add. Okay, Muslim League formed. Muslim League formed. For me, it is always a very insignificant point. 1913, Gadar movement rose. World War I. Gadar destroyed Komagatumaru. Gadar destroyed Defense of India Act. India Act. Gandhi comes back. 1916, Gandhi travels India. And also Lucknow Pact and Home Rule League. Then come Champaran, Kheda and Ahmedabad. 1919, Rowlatt Satyagraha and Jallianwala Bagh. Khilafat and NCM, Chauri Chaura, NCM called off. Anybody has any issue here? No. 1923, 1924, 1925, 1927, 1928, 1929. Then you have 1930, 1931, 1932, 1933, 1934. This is the most heaviest area. This is the area of what is called as Swarajist, no changers, responsivist, and non-responsivist. Simon Commission, Nehru Report, and now you have three events together. Irwin Declaration, Delhi Manifesto, Purna Swaraj Resolution, Lahore. 11-point ultimatum plus CDM phase 1 roundtable conference 1. 1932 roundtable 2 Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Roundtable 3 McDonald Award, Pune Pact, and CDM phase 2. CDM 2 suspended, CDM 2 called off. Gandhi Harijan campaign. Anybody, any issue here? No. Very good. 1935, 1936, 1938, 1939, 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944. Government of India Act 1935. Elections of 1936. Haripura session. Here we can add one more, which is Karachi session. The Karachi session. Then this is Tripuri session and World War II. August offer. Before that, Ramgarh session and Wardha resolution. 1941 individual satyagrah. Quit India, Cripps mission. Now comes INA. INA formed by Mohan Singh in Malaya. India Independence League Bangkok Conference. 1943 Subhash Chandra Bose joins. Years 1935, 36, 38 not available. 1935 Government of India, 1936 election of 1936 Haripura session. You can't see it, but it is there. It will be in the anti PPT. If you want to add it, add it. It is there. Subhash Chandra Bose joins INA, Azad Hind Sarkar and Fauj. This is Imphal campaign. Are we clear? Don't worry about these dates. 35, 36, 38 written. You as it is needed as a form of PPT. Can I move to the last set? Refresh if you can't see it. Yes? Okay. I hope you're finding this helpful, because that is the whole point. I know this timeline very, very well. So you don't need to. I am not revising it for myself. 1945, 1946, 1947. 1945, we will have first the Wavell Conference. Then we will have the INA trials. Thereafter, 1946 February, we will have the RIN mutiny. By September 1945, war over, World War II over. INA trials is November, December. This is June, July. Over. Over. Then you have March, cabinet mission. Then by August, you have interim government. By October, Muslim League boycotts formed. Interim government completed. 47 starts with February, then March, then May, then July, not July, June, July, August. Attlee Declaration, Mountbatten comes to India. May, you have Ismay Dickey Bird Plan. June 3rd, June Plan. Mountbatten Plan, where we started our story today. And July 18th, July, India Independence Act. 15th August, independence with partition. Done. So with this, we are done for the day. Thank you. Thank you for your patience throughout the weekend session itself. I will see you soon, maybe in weekend somewhere else. But all the best for the examinations. All the best for the state PCSEs, and all the best for generally the endeavors in life. So thank you. It was literally a pleasure teaching you all. We enjoyed. We took our time. We took as many breaks as possible. We did not rush. We were clear, and we were slowly but surely. We did everything. So thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure teaching you all. Soon I will either see you for ancient medieval art and culture. If not, all the best for the mocks. See you. Bye bye. From tomorrow, CSAT starts. I hope at least I've done justice to modern India and to post-independence. Post-independence, don't worry too much. Modern India is complete for you at least. This whole set of slides is therefore, I'm marking it so that you can also refer to it properly. Reuse this. If you can remember these dates, your job is done with regards to that. Okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Always a pleasure.